8 very, very famous paintings in one print, and of course, an interesting anecdote or story on each. The Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci. The best known, the most visited, the most written about, the most sung about, the most parodied, or made fun of in a playful way, work in all of the world. He was born in 1452 in the Republic of Florence. That's today's Italy. So others that he does that are very, very, very famous. There's one print that got put into a shuttle at some point. But also there is The Last Supper, religious iconography images. Back in the day, it was the church commissioned a lot of works. So this painting actually became super famous after 1911 when it was stolen. This is only a mid-size bust of the wife of a famous person. So you wouldn't necessarily think that this would be one of the most famous, paintings of all time. It's just a painting of a portrait with an enigmatic smile. You don't know exactly what she's thinking. Girl with a Pearl Earring by Johannes Vermeer. So this is from Holland or the Netherlands. And, Vermeer only did 37 paintings in his life that are attributed to him. There are forgers who tried to copy his work because of how popular it was. And it became very iconic because it was lost. It was actually lost for about 200 years, and when it resurfaced,
it became famous.
One of the things you have to realize is people in the Netherlands didn't wear turbans like this. And the sitter was actually kind of sitting like a gypsy for the painting. Who this man was that we didn't know. He lived in a Dutch town, he married a Catholic woman, he had 11 kids, he was in debt, he was an art dealer. That's about all we know of him. But he did these great paintings that the sense of perspective is the big thing that he was able to kind of acquire, which is why there's a belief that he might have used lenses at the time. The Great Wife by Hokusai. So Hokusai was a printmaker in Edo time in Japan. Edo actually is the ancient name of Tokyo. And at the age of 90, on his deathbed, he reported, "If heaven had granted me 5 more years, I could become a real painter." But he was a fabulous artist. He was from a family of artisans. It looks like his father might have been the mirror maker for the shogun at the time. The shogun would have been the military dictator leader of Japan back in the 1800s. So he probably would have painted this in 1830, which actually would have made the 1700s. No, 1900s, because you work up to the number. So this was called The Wave Off Kanagawa, and it's actually very little. It's only about yay big, and there are multiple hills of it because it's printmaking. And it was part of a series called The 36 Views of Mount Fuji. And at the time, there was a thing called ukiyo-e. Ukiyo-e was basically the pop art of the time. They were like pin-up prints of kabuki actors, sumo wrestlers, and people always say it's called the floating world, but basically it means advertising. The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. So Van Gogh is well known as kind of like the iconic man of the post-impressionist work, which means Impressionism had a lot to do with painting the beauty of nature. And this was adding more emotion and more color to Impressionism, all right? So the thing about Van Gogh is he struggled with mental illness, and he was poor for most of his life. And he actually painted this after he had kind of chopped off his ear that he tried to give to this girl he liked, and he had committed himself to a mental institution. And he was having a lot of trouble, and he was messaging his brother, I believe Theo, and he painted this from outside his window trying to kind of represent the world he saw. And it became incredibly popular. And for us, this is an iconic image of the Western world. We look at it with great meaning and importance. His sadness in this is a very beautiful image. The Scream. Edvard Munch, the Norwegian painter that is known for painting this red sky on a dock with a face that just talks about the anxieties of the world. So the figure in the painting isn't producing a scream, rather he's blocking his ears from the shriek coming from nature. Now, Edvard Munch painted this because it was a shocking sight to see. So he was walking by a fjord. By the way, a fjord is FJORD, all right, overlooking in Oslo, in Norway. And the sky turned red, and then it had this impact on him. So the dramatic color actually might have been because there had been a volcanic eruption.
Krakatoa.
Very, very iconic, and he made multiple copies of it. Salvador Dali, the well-known surrealist, Spanish surrealist, or Catalonian surrealist. If I had to pick someone from Catalan to talk about, it's either Pablo Picasso or Salvador Dali, and I love surrealism. So, Salvador Dali was expelled from art school twice, and he had an absolutely fantastic mustache. Now, he was known for his technical skill and his craftsmanship and his bizarre images. Now, his full name is
Salvador Domingo Felipe Jacinto Dali I Dominic, 1st Marquis of Dali de Pobal.
He didn't actually live at that castle. His wife lived there, and she only let him visit occasionally. Surrealism is this kind of sense of doing things that don't actually happen in the real world and making a realistic image of things that physics don't allow. American Gothic. So American Gothic is this like painting of like a couple in front of a house, and it was painted in 1930. Now it was painted by Grant Wood. Now this painting is not a farmer and his wife. It's actually his sister and their dentist. Now here's the thing. Grant Woods was a modernist at the time, and he painted this the year after the stock market crashed and everything was falling, and the country was sinking further into what we now know as the Great Depression. And at the time, there was like this sense of desperation, and you can even see it in their faces. Like a look at kind of dissatisfaction with the current and fear where they're not going to be able to pay their bills or keep up with, the repairs around the house. Grant Wood wanted to get his artwork into the Art Institute of Chicago, and so he sent it in for a contest and he got 3rd place. We don't even really remember who got 1st place because this one everyone was talking about. So talking about how this is disparaging of backwards rural America, and the housewives of Iowa were all like, oh my goodness, we don't look like this, we're not backwards, and that controversy helped make it become very unpopular. Okay, Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo, a Mexican painter who is known for giving importance to folk art. She was also married to the Mexican muralist Diego Rivera. She was in a horrible bus accident as a child, and she painted her pain through self-portraits her entire life. And if you see the image I'm going to bring up of her, that's her in one of her casts that kind of held her body together. Son of Man, René Magritte. Rumor has it Magritte was a forger of paintings, and during the war he forged banknotes as a means of survival. But here's another person who did kind of surreal art, and the image of an apple in front of this face is a very iconic image. The Son of Man. By the way, make a good Halloween costume. That'd be a really easy one.